Welcome to Kindness Soul Moments. Here, we tell real stories that expose the raw truth of the human heart, love, loss, healing, and hope. Every story we share is meant to connect souls, reflect on life's hardest decisions, and reveal what truly matters. This is one of those stories. The names have been changed, but the emotions are real. Listen closely, because what you're about to hear is more than just a confession. It's a mirror into the choices people make when no one is watching. It started with something I didn't think would ever grow into anything dangerous. Curiosity. That's all. A harmless, stupid, nagging curiosity. And it ended up breaking the very thing I once swore to protect, my marriage. My name is Kayla. I'm 33 now, but the story I'm about to share with you happened 3 years ago. Back then, I thought I had it all figured out. I was married to Brian for nearly 7 years. He was loyal, kind, patient. We had a modest home, a dog, plans to travel, and conversations about kids. To anyone looking from the outside, we were the textbook example of a happy couple. But what no one knew was that I had buried a part of myself deep under the surface, a part one was too ashamed to explore, too afraid to admit even to myself. And that part, unfortunately, found a way to claw its way out. Brian was never insecure about himself. Not in the way men usually are. But I was curious, unfairly so. I had never been with anyone else but him, not fully. He was my first, my only, and somewhere along the line, I started wondering if I was missing something. It wasn't even about love. It wasn't about being unhappy. It was about the unknown. About whether what I had was normal, or if something else might feel different. That curiosity, that dangerous whisper in my mind, began growing louder every day. It didn't help that social media, friends' stories, even movies constantly hinted at this unspoken thing, size. How it matters, how it doesn't, how it changes everything, or how it means nothing. I told myself it was dumb. I told myself I was just bored. But eventually, those whispers grew into a temptation I could no longer silence. It happened when I reconnected with an old friend from college. His name was Marcus. Tall, confident, athletic, smooth in a way Brian never was. We started chatting on Instagram, innocently at first. Just memes, catching up, joking about how time flies. Then the messages got a little deeper. A little more flirtatious. And I let it happen. One night, while Brian was working late, I asked Marcus about his relationships. He said, "You ever wonder what it would have been like if we hooked up back then?" I didn't answer at first. But inside, I did. I had wondered. And suddenly, I didn't feel as guilty as I should have. Curiosity is like a flame. It starts small, manageable, but when you feed it, just a little, it becomes a wildfire. I told Marcus things I never should have. I asked him questions that made my heart race and my stomach twist. And then came the photos. Not mine at first. His. Explicit, bold, and exactly the kind of answer my mind had been chasing. I wish I could say I stopped there. That I realized how far I was going and pulled away. But I didn't. I leaned in. 2 weeks later, I met him. I told Brian I was going out with my girlfriends. He kissed me goodbye, completely trusting, completely unaware that I was about to betray him in a way I couldn't undo. When I got to Marcus's apartment, it didn't feel romantic. It felt secretive, dangerous. Adrenaline drowned out my guilt. My body moved before my conscience could catch up. And that night, I gave in to every curious question my mind had tortured me with. I told myself afterward that it was just curiosity. That it didn't mean anything. That I still loved Brian. That I just needed to know. But the truth was, I had crossed a line that love could not protect anymore. I had broken something sacred. The days after felt like drowning in silence. Every time Brian looked at me, smiled, made coffee, rubbed my feet, I felt sick. He trusted me. He believed in me. And I had turned my back on all of it for something as shallow as a physical difference. I thought I could keep it hidden. That maybe I'd just live with the guilt and it would fade over time. But it didn't. It grew heavier, like wearing wet clothes every second of the day. And then, something unexpected happened. Brian found the messages. I had forgotten to delete the Instagram DM preview notifications. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He simply asked, "Is there something you want to tell me?" The look in his eyes was something I will never forget. Not anger. Not hate. Just heartbreak. Like something inside him had cracked. I told him everything. Through tears, shaking hands, shame, and broken words. I told him it was about curiosity. That I never meant to fall for Marcus. That I didn't love anyone else. But how could that possibly matter? Brian left the house for 2 days. When he came back, he said, "I love you, Kayla." But I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. We tried therapy. We tried talking, rebuilding, crying, screaming, holding each other. But trust, once it's broken like that, it's not easy to rebuild. 6 months later, we separated. Not with hate, not even with resentment, but with a quiet, mutual understanding that I had let something small turn into something destructive. He deserved better. I lived alone for a while after that. I deleted Marcus. I shut down all the channels that had fed that curiosity. And in that silence, I finally started to listen to myself. Really listen. I realized that I had mistaken curiosity for hunger. I thought I was missing something outside, when in truth, I was disconnected from what was already inside. I've spent the last 2 years learning, healing, sitting with the pain I caused. I've met people since then, but I never let myself get involved until I was truly ready. Not just to love, but to be honest. You see, we're taught to chase answers, to ask questions, to explore, but no one talks enough about the consequences of curiosity when it turns into temptation. No one warns you how a single moment of just wondering can cost you everything real. Brian is now remarried. I heard it from a mutual friend. He looks happy, and I'm truly glad. He deserves happiness. He deserves a love that never doubts, never cheats, never lies. As for me, I'm still on my journey. Still learning how to forgive myself. Still figuring out who I am without the guilt. But I tell this story not to justify what I did, not to make it sound less awful than it was, but to warn someone out there who might be on the edge of the same mistake. Curiosity isn't harmless when it becomes obsession. And when you hurt someone just to answer your own question, you lose more than you ever expected. So, if you're listening right now, and you're wondering if, one time, is worth it, if exploring just a little outside the line is harmless, remember my story. It might give you a thrill. But it might also cost you someone who would have stood by you forever. Thank you for listening to Kindness Soul Moments. If this story moved you, if you saw even a glimpse of your own life reflected in these words, remember, we're all just human. But we always have a choice. Be kind, be honest, and above all, stay true to your soul. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and stay kind.